Keep your eyes glued to the screen because I'm going to tell you a true story that resembles a movie script straight out of the pages of history. One of the most interesting events of the Russian-Ukrainian war took place on the front line recently. This report is no ordinary war report, and the Russian soldiers once again surprised the entire world. In fact, the origins of these incidents are quite old, but recent developments have brought it back into the spotlight. In this report, we will take an in-depth look at the complexities of the war and examine in detail the fragility of the Russian army. The immunity of Russian soldiers clearly shows how challenging the war has become for Russia. We will share this development with you and consider it an important turning point in the course of the war. This may be the turning point that will shape the future of the Russian army. So, what are the latest developments about the mutinous Russian soldiers? Let's examine it in the details. As the Pioneer team, we continue to bring the Russia-Ukraine war to your screens. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel and turn on notifications so as not to miss our daily reports. You can also support me and my hardworking team by using the super thanks button below the videos. Thank you in advance for your support, and let's start if you are ready, the Pioneer reports. The Ukrainian armed forces have gained momentum in their resistance against the Russian armed forces troops and continue to make significant gains on the front line. These gains have caused the Russian soldiers to feel under great psychological pressure. Especially in the areas where the Russian troops have suffered serious losses, there is a marked restlessness and anxiety among them. We have already reported on an incident in which a group of the Russian soldiers, together with the prisoners known as Mobiks, started a major mutiny near Moscow. The reason for this revolt, as we have seen, was that they knew that the Russian soldiers would face difficult situations on the front line. One of the most important long-standing demands of the Russian soldiers have been to receive quality training so that they can perform better on the front line. But the Russian war leadership has never met this demand. A few months ago, there was a revolt at the training camp in Moscow. At the center of this incident was a fight with a senior Russian officer stationed in the area. After the fight, the Russian soldier was seriously beaten and hospitalized. According to the Russian sources, the soldier was in a critical condition and his life was in danger due to the blows he received. This incident also revealed the tension and dissatisfaction between the soldiers. The soldier was hospitalized for a while and his treatment was paid for not by the Russian army, by a few philanthropists. The Russian soldier's family did not receive any information about his treatment for a long time, and during this time, the soldier's family received news that the wounded soldier was doing well and was on active duty on the front line. However, the family was unable to communicate with the soldier. This increased the family's anxiety and uncertainty throughout the treatment process, and there was a lack of communication to keep the soldier's family informed, which led to the psychologically difficult process for the family. However, it was actually the Russian soldiers' own friends who contacted the family, and in this case, Russia's combat leadership again failed to fulfill its responsibilities. The wounded soldier was discharged from hospital after his treatment was completed, and a remarkable event took place. The Russian soldier was almost recklessly called back to the front line by the Russian war leadership. This further exposed the complex and difficult situation in Russia. There is also an interesting detail about this Russian soldier. Allegedly, the Russian leadership had threatened this soldier with 7 years in prison for having an argument with a Russian officer. This Russian soldier was promised to suspended prison sentence if he agreed to serve on the front line, but there was a problem. The Russian soldier's treatment in the hospital was complete, but the injury to his leg and had eliminated his chances of fighting again. But the Russian war leadership did not care. They insisted that the Russian soldier be punished, but this time the Russian soldier insisted that they had no life to risk for the mistakes of the Russian war leadership. When the Russian soldier was presented with the Russian war leadership's proposal, there was an uproar. The Russian soldier had once again mutinied. According to rumors, an argument between Russian soldiers and the Russian commanders turned into a big fight, and during this argument, commanders and soldiers were throwing punches at each other. Other Russian soldiers in the vicinity tried to intervene, but the fight would not stop. Other soldiers arrived on the scene to take control of the situation and tried to end the fight by giving the mob electric shock. But the anger and tension still remained. This incident exacerbated the tension and the tensions within the units and continued to do so in the days that followed. According to the latest reports, Mobyk was arrested this time and seriously injured during the brawl. However, the Russian combat leadership did not give any authorization for the Mobyk's treatment, and the Russian soldier was sent directly to prison. It remains unclear exactly when this incident took place, but allegedly not too long ago. Further details about Mobyk's arrest have not yet emerged, and these developments have sparked further debate about the internal dynamics and discipline of the Russian army. According to local sources, the Russian soldier's family has not heard from him for some time, and there is a high probability that this situation will continue for some time. The traumas inflicted by the Ukrainian armed forces on the front line have created an anxiety and difficult situation for the Russian soldiers. In addition, the morale of the Russian soldiers have been further undermined by the fact that the Russian war leadership has not made any sacrifices for the Russian soldiers. The combination of these factors increased the fatigue of the Russian soldiers. They could make it difficult to maintain Russia's military presence in Ukraine and lead to demoralization among the troops. Many Russian soldiers are allegedly suffering from serious illnesses due to the psychological hardship of serving in Ukraine. Russian leader Vladimir Putin is also worried about the Russian army's heavy losses against the Ukrainian army. Some sources claim that the situation in the Kremlin is complicated. There are reports that Putin, who has lost control of his temper, is constantly scolding employees inside the palace. However, these reports are still allegations and have not been confirmed, and the fact that Putin is aware of this situation shows the depth of the difficult process that the Russian Federation is going through. Here's how a sources who made the allegations about the psychological problems of the Russian soldiers put it in. Our army is in a difficult situation, but in order to explain this to the authorities, we need to be in an even more difficult situation. There is no rehabilitation program, even for the wounded and returning soldiers. My God, we know what they are going through, but we can't feel like them. What they are going through is very difficult, and the war leadership is not paying for it. When will these soldiers get what they deserve? Probably never. But we will defend their rights, and if the president wants to win the war, he must listen to us. He must take action. Without action, things will get worse, and it's too late. Nothing will be the same. Do you think the psychological problems of the Russian soldiers will increase? What do you think about the mutiny of the Russian soldiers? Let me know in the comments, cause I read and I care about all of your comments.